Okay, so I know the title might be a little dramatic, but here's the thing. It's not wrong. Okay, you're probably wondering what in the world I'm talking about, right? Well, we've always assumed that the maze was a real, physical place in canon, right? Well, it's not. Or not as we think it is. So something a few of you may remember is the rather strange post-death memory of Squidney that we got to see. At the end, it shows her in a strange tube with no apparent purpose. Well, I found something that ties everything together. Squidney's tube, Appo's strange last words, Oeka's last words, what we the voices are, and even how the content creators themselves play into this. It's quite simple. It's all a giant psych ward. Alright, I know how ridiculous this sounds, but I have proof, alright? The theory started about a month ago when I was watching the Eye animatic, Oeka's death. I noticed something odd. When he said bye, Ori, he didn't seem to be focusing on Ori. He seemed to be focusing on something else. He seemed distracted. I decided to check out another animatic, so I went to Appo's death. He also ends up distracted with some strange last words that aren't seen to be aimed at anyone and just said to the air. And once again, very happy as he was dying. But what interested me was the fact that they were never really talking to anyone we could see. They were both distracted by something. So I dug deeper. This is when I went to Squidney's death, and while the last words were certainly to magic, the tube is what interested me, since it also looked like Squidney was distracted by something here as she clearly wasn't focusing on us. I mentioned a long time ago that the maze could be VR. Well, I don't think it's VR. I definitely don't think it's real. Let's think about everyone who was added and why. Owen, a deranged, insane soldier with a hatred of demons. Oeka, an insane boy with bad DID. The person I'm not going to name, incredibly insane due to being alive so long with whatever it was inside of them. Radoon's an alcoholic who lost everything, probably violent due to it and probably has something wrong in the head. Squidney, we think, lost her dad, grief can cause insanity, although she does look sane here. Appo, after killing an officer, I believe his entire town was destroyed, once again, grief to insanity. Everyone here has at least a possibility of being insane. So what if they were? It fits with it being volunteer. Those who knew that they were edging towards it or knew that they had brief bouts of sanity would have volunteered, and those being sentenced to it, well, it wasn't punishment, it was treatment. But let's just dial it back a little to Squidney's pipe. I don't think this is her dead corpse. I think this is her actual body, and this isn't a prison, it's a container. My guess is this: when an outsider dies, they are released from the mindscape. Well, what's a mindscape? A mindscape is much like a dream, or in some sense it is one. It is an area created by your mind. Mindscapes are created to reflect your own personality. For example, if you had a secret you cared about, it would be protected by security in a safe in your mindscape. It's essentially a theoretical concept of your mind, but since your mind doesn't understand how your mind works, it makes itself work in a way that it can visualize and understand. It's the same principle of why we think in words or why we think in images. Has anyone here watched Inception? If not, essentially it's a movie about a group of people that made a device that allows you to enter and change and create mindscapes. But if you die when too many mindscapes are layered together, like dreams inside dreams and such, you're stuck in a prison with your own creation, called limbo. In limbo, since it's a dream, you have complete control over everything around you. I think the maze is a limbo, somewhere to trap people's minds. But it's not the outsider's limbo, otherwise they who control everything, and who can control everything in the maze. The creators. The creators must have made this limbo to trap these individuals' minds inside, or at least the conscious parts of them for some reason. Every one of the outsider's consciousnesses are hooked up to it. Theoretically, if you left the maze, you'll leave the limbo, but you can't leave because the creators have made it so, and because this limbo is now part of their minds. The only way out would be to die. This actually explains a lot, since if it's a psych ward, then the objective is to heal these individuals. Oeka's Biori, most likely as he was dying, he was being unhooked, as the creators have complete control over the maze, so therefore they had planned he was going to die there, so they were already ready to unhook him. But let's just stop for a second. This is what took me a few days to realize, that the creators are the ones planning everything, or in other words, the ones with the outsider's script. Well, the only ones with the outsider's SMP script are the content creators themselves. Each of these content creators are the doctors to their characters in the maze, and the reason they've isolated their conscious minds into the maze is because if their consciousness is taken up with its own problems, won't notice anything that they're fixing in the subconscious. Think about it, it's the future, so they almost certainly have ways to heal most of these mental illnesses, but humans work strangely, and so do their minds. See, humans hate what they're scared of, and they're most scared of what they don't understand. Nobody in the maze is aliens would understand what the creators are doing, so they would be scared of it and fight back, which would make it way harder to cure the outsiders. However, with their conscious mind distracted by this maze, the doctors can help them. Now, let's go back to what I said about Aweka. The reason he said bye Ori when he did is he could see the outside world as he was being unplugged. He could see the people he cared about and those that he had left, and he could finally feel that he was free of his second personality. And that's why one of the red eyes faded. The reason he was so happy with Ori is because he knew that Ori would feel this soon, and he was happy for him. A character dying simply means that their treatment is over and they're being released, as death is the only way to escape the mindscape. And the outside strip that the doctors / content creators have is merely a schedule to when they can expect to be done curing people, as everyone would have different issues, and a list of things to put in the mindscape to make sure the outsiders are always occupied. The creators are not malevolent or messed up, they're just a group of doctors trying to help these mentally ill people get better. Another piece of proof, Apo's last words and his constant cheating of death. Since he had a broken chip, they kept trying to kill him off in the mindscape and make everyone believe he was dead, because his treatment was done, but they could never kill him. So they gave Owen back his memories as a spirit of the moment thing to get Apo out of the mindscape. Without the chip, they couldn't track him or anything, so they couldn't just kill him themselves. And his last words were, "We did it," but he has no one to say it to, so why was he saying it? Well, because he's talking to those who came to greet him coming out of the simulation. He's saying we did it because he knows he's cured. As well as this explains the removing memory. If the outsiders knew they were in a treatment, it's likely the treatment wouldn't work, as their personalities would be changed due to it, and self-preservation is an incredibly powerful instinct. I'd also like to bring up that C. Owen's doctor could be hardcore C. Owen, as in real life you only get one life, and I assume it's the same way in the Outsiders universe, but CO and hardcore COs would not be two halves of one person, they would be two completely different ones that just happen to have the same name. I promise this theory explains the voices, so I'm going to get to that. The voices, chat, whatever you want to call it, are strange. Heck, we're referring to hundreds of people and calling them one thing. But if you think of every outsider as insane, by the point of getting to the maze, volunteer station, or being sentenced there, being insane would be a part of them, therefore a part of their conscious mind in the maze, therefore a part of their personality in the maze. So that's what we are. The last vestiges of their insanity, and that's why those who are about to die / leave the mindscape we can't see into their minds of, because they're cured, and the voices are the last thing they fix, likely because we're the lowest priority, or we're in another group of insane people that they didn't have time to make mindscapes for, so instead just occupied our consciousnesses through looking through the eyes of the outsiders, and that explains how people that would mean voices for the first season join later, and these would likely be the problem with the strongest wills or largest problems, then they needed to distract their consciousnesses more to cure them. All in all, the second fits a little better in my opinion. However, I'd like to bring up one more thing. Ash. Ash seemed to be trying to get us out, and it may be time to consider that Ash was the bad guy here. Or possibly that she cared for magic so much that she couldn't bear to even see her being hurt in a simulated way to cure her. Several people have also gone insane in the maze. Owen Oeka, the person I'm not going to name. I think it's because these people were so insane, so off the rails in the real world, that it was a large part of who they were. So they've gone insane in the maze because their maze versions are reflections of their personalities. Think about it. Oeka killed his whole family. Owen is probably the worst of anyone. And the person I'm going to name has lived at least 300 years with this thing inside of them. Which means if something happens to anyone, anything, and I mean anything, could make someone snap. And when an outsider snaps, because I said they would have been some of the ones with the worst problems, it will get chaotic, since we've already seen what happens with Owen and Oeka. Anyway, that's me done. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and like always, my name has been Ghost, and I'll see you all next time.